There's this hidden code buried inside the words we use every single day. It's like a secret rhythm that can completely change what a word means without even changing its spelling. So let's dive in and crack this code together.
Okay, just listen to this for a second. I'm going to say the same exact word two different ways. First, a record, and second, to record. Did you hear that? Record, record. Same letters, but that emphasis, that little punch, is in a totally different place. So, what's going on here? How is that even possible? How can just a tiny shift in sound completely flip a word's meaning on its head? Well, that's the puzzle we're about to solve.
And our investigation really starts right there, with this tale of two words, which, let's be honest, is really just one word with two completely different personalities. To really get what's happening, we can't just look at whole words. No, we've got to go deeper. We need to break language down into its most basic parts. The actual rhythm, the pulse of how we speak.
And that brings us to the good old syllable. Honestly, this little thing is the key to everything. Once you understand how syllables are built, you're halfway to cracking the code.
So what is a syllable? Well, think of it as one single beat of speech. And here is the absolute most important part. Every single syllable, and I mean every one, has to be built around a vowel sound. It's the one ingredient you absolutely can't skip.
Linguists call this core vowel the nucleus. I like to think of it as the beating heart of the syllable. It's the sound that carries everything else. So in a word like cat, it's that ah sound in the middle. Without that nucleus, a syllable just poof, it can't exist.
Now, once you have that heart, you can add some accessories. These are totally optional. You've got the onset, that's any consonant sound that comes before the vowel, and you have the coda, any consonant sound that comes after. They're nice to have, but they're not essential to the syllable's existence.
Okay, let's see how this actually works. Take the word at. It doesn't have an onset, it just starts right with the nucleus, ah, and ends with the coda, t. Simple enough. But if we add a K sound as the onset, we get cat. See? Now let's get fancy. We can make the onset more complex, like stra. Change the nucleus vowel to E, and we get street. It's all just mixing and matching these three simple parts.
All right, so words are made of syllables. We got that. But what is it that makes one of those syllables in a word stand out more than the others? This, my friends, is where the magic happens. This is language's hidden spotlight.
And that spotlight is what we call stress. It's really just the amount of energy or emphasis we put on one syllable compared to the ones next to it. In any word with more than one syllable, one of them gets to be the star of the show. It gets the spotlight.
So how do we actually put a syllable in that spotlight? Well, we do four things, usually all at the same time. We say it a little bit louder, we say it at a slightly higher pitch, we stretch it out for just a fraction of a second longer, and critically, we pronounce that vowel super clearly.
And this brings us to a huge concept in English, stressed syllables. The ones in the spotlight get strong, clear vowels. Think of the O in photo. It's a very pure vowel. But the syllables that don't get the spotlight, their vowels get kind of lazy. They often get reduced down to this weak, mushy sound called a schwa. It sounds like For example, in the word about, we don't say about, right? We say about. That at the beginning, that's a schwa. It's everywhere.
Okay, so we have our syllables and we have our spotlight of stress. We now have all the tools we need to finally crack that code from the beginning. Because yeah, there are rules to this whole thing, and they're actually pretty simple. Here it is. This is the big reveal. For a massive number of two-syllable words in English, the only thing telling you if it's a noun or a verb is where you put the stress. It's all about the location of that spotlight. This right here is the master key to the whole code. If it's a noun, you shine that spotlight on the first syllable. If it's a verb, the spotlight moves over to the second syllable. It's an incredibly powerful and consistent pattern in English. And just like that, our original mystery is solved. A record, the noun, stress is on syllable 1. But if you want to record something, the verb, boom, the stress jumps to syllable 2. Same thing for a present, the noun, versus when you present something, the verb. The wild part is, you've probably been following this rule your entire life without even knowing it was a rule. Now, of course, the code gets a little more complex. In longer words, it's not just one spotlight. You have a main one called primary stress, and then you might have a dimmer, secondary one. Just listen to the word information. The main event is on MA,
That's the primary stress. But in at the beginning gets a little bit of love too. That's secondary stress. Information. You can hear both.
So there you have it. The code is cracked. But, knowing the rules is one thing. The real goal here is to start actually hearing this music, this rhythm, in the language all around you.
And you've totally got the toolkit for it now. Words are just built from syllables. Every one of those syllables has a vowel at its core. Stress acts like a spotlight, and that just by moving that spotlight around, you can perform linguistic magic and change a word's entire job.
So I'll leave you with this thought. You've been given the key to the code. The next time you're listening to a conversation, or even just listening to yourself talk, what are you going to notice? What hidden rhythms and stress patterns are suddenly going to jump out at you now that you actually know what to listen for?